Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to start our meeting. Just four of us, but I think it's good because we can have more time for each of us. So we take the positive side always. If there are more people, we say we glad to learn from more books. Now, because we get few people, we say we get to learn deeper for each book. All right, so thank you for coming. And today we are going to have, Rizka will also have a book to present.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know.
So I'd like to share the slide. Yeah, wait a minute. So share screen. Oh, disabled. Okay, fine. So I will put it in the chat. So these are the discussion points. And but before that, I'd like to mention our club mission. It's cultivating the passion for lifelong learning. So cultivate means it's a process. For me, maybe if you have different opinion, feel free to share. So we need to make an effort to cultivate it, to grow it. The passion, meaning we do it not because of external reward, but because we love to learn, and lifelong learning. So we keep learning. Right, and these are the discussion points for each presenter today, the title of the book and what it's about. And then why did you decide to read the book? So I think getting the why is quite important. What is it that makes you interested to read that book? And then what are your key takeaways from the book? And is there a question that you would like to discuss? Maybe there is something in the book that you want to get other people's opinion on. And then lastly, any question from the audience? So there are four. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. All right, so maybe we can start with Pipit. Because, oh no.
Start with you, Dono.
I'm the host, the last.
Oh, okay. Let's start with Diaz. I will eat something first. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready. So yeah, I'll start. So this is the title of the book, Utopia for Realists and How We Can Get There. It's by Rutger Bregman, and I think Pipit read a book by him too. It's called Humankind, right? So, but I don't know whether this is the first or the second book of him. And then it's about the ideal world, the ideal place for everyone in this world. And then the reason why I decided to read this book because the word utopia really clicks. I have a click in my mind because I really love the word, and because utopia, it feels like an imaginary, but anyhow, if we can make it and if we want to make it come true, then we are able to make it true. So the key takeaways from the book, well, since I'm still in the 1/3 of this book, so I haven't had any the really what do you call it? The core key the core idea of this book, but there is a question that I'd like to discuss because the first two chapter of this book is Rutger Bregman discuss about free money to the citizens, and somehow it reminds me of a book that I read few months ago. It's Good Economic, Bad Economics. And then the Aberji also mentioned about free money, and then he said that free money is not necessarily bad because what the governments always think is like when we give free money, it will make people lazy, it will make people don't want to work because they know exactly that, oh, okay, I have this amount of money, and then I'll just use it anyway, and then the economics stops there. But what Rutger Bregman would like to say is that the free money is not really bad, because when they use that money to purchase something, that it will also move the economy process of other things, like or for other business. Let's say when we give people, let's say 100,000 rupiah, and then that person will, you know, they can use it for top up. Let's say they will top up their GoPay, or they will buy buy things like sembako, or maybe they can also pay for their electricity or buy pulsa, and then whatsoever. And then that's the key of doing for giving the free money, because then it will, you know, menggerakkan the other economic process. So I don't think, well, I get the idea, but I don't know if it's suitable for people here in Indonesia, because for example, like for this last 1 year, most of our neighborhood, we got the free sembako from the government. Like they will send us beras, and then minyak, gula, and stuff like that. So what if they give the, you know, give the mentahannya, give only the money, then we can use it for something else. Of course we can use it for sembako too, but then we can use it to pay the electricity, pay the bills, and then we can buy other things that suitable for our lifestyle, because not everyone likes to use that amount of beras, that amount of minyak. So then we can use it, let's say, to buy vegetable and then fruits, which is maybe it will be a lot more convenient for other families. So that's the thing that I want to discuss. Do you agree that free money is a lot better comparing to giving occupations? So I think that answers number 4 and number 5.
If it's versus giving occupation, that's a different story. Yes.
Because this is the comparison that Rutger mentioned in the very first chapter, because he said that why don't we just give the money and then let people decide whether they want to use it to buy other things, or maybe they can use it to, you know, for modal usaha. It depends on them anyway.
Occupation
Rather
is
than
jobs.
rather than giving, you know, rather than opening job opportunities and then force people to do the work. So
If I'm not mistaken, the term is universal basic income. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's different from versus giving them jobs, I think. So whether or not, I think Germany is doing it already. They had a pilot percobaan for a
project.
Yeah, pilot project. So I think 2 or 3 years ago, before COVID, I read about them. So they give everyone 600 euro regardless their income. No matter whether you make 1 million euro, whether you make 1,000 euro, everyone gets 600 euro on top of that. Everyone registered legal citizens. And they saw a massive increase in economic productivity. Like what you said, it's rather than giving them the actual donation, like food, all of this, rather to give them the money. But then they decided to give everyone, including millionaires as well, so they don't have to take trouble to, so who should we give now? And why not that person? Why not? So everyone will get it. And they continue doing it until now. And the second one is, I think, it's from the Africa Aid. There's an advocacy to give the people in Africa actually the money instead of the food, all of this as aid. So they can decide whether they want to buy livestock, or they want to buy pulsa or whatever they think they need. because what you provide them 100 $100 in terms of goods, you need extra $100 to pay salary to the people who will purchase the goods and people who take advantage of the thing. So whenever you give $100 of goods, it's actually you need $200 to make that happen. So that's why I think they started to give them in terms of money instead of goods, and it's been doing well. Probably.
All right. So yeah, my opinion about Dias. Oh, maybe Dias want to respond to Pipit first.
No, later then.
Yeah, I remember reading about Lee Kuan Yew. I once read a book about Lee Kuan Yew, and I think the term is welfare state, if I'm not mistaken. Welfare state is a state that like give social guarantee, for example, like the basic income that Dias mentioned. And in Lee Kuan Yew's view in that book, he opposed the idea very much because in his opinion, it will make people lazy. That's why, because I took my master's degree in Singapore, you never get anything free. Like, yeah, in most cases, but now in pandemic, they give some stuff free to the citizen, but in most cases, no. So for example, in the university, if they want to get some extra grant from the government at that time, and I'm sure until now, they have to raise fund first, and then the government will match the fund that they raise. So the more you raise, the more you will get from the government. Therefore, they tie the effort of the people with what they will get from the government. Because if you just give it without any condition, without any effort that you ask from the people, in Lee Kuan Yew's view, it's a very bad idea. Yeah. So I don't have my own conclusion yet, but I just want to share Singapore's view on this topic. Anyone else, maybe? About yes decision?
So Lee Kuan Yew is obviously a very, very, very interesting character. I spent my childhood, teens, living in Singapore in the 60s. And Lee Kuan Yew and his wife were both lawyers that went to Cambridge University in the UK, very expensive university. But they came back and Lee Kuan Yew was in the Communist Party, and that was the early 50s, and there was a big problem with the communists in Malaysia, or in Malaya, before Malaysia, and the British. But anyway, he Singapore. When he got to the top, he then abandoned the Communist Party and started PAP, People's Action Party. So that was really his party. But, you know, very interesting individual. I mean, I could listen to him forever. Yeah, but again, you know, Singapore is I mean, it really is nanny state in the true definition. Yeah, I mean, cradle to grave. I mean, you know, Singapore's what, 14 by 15 kilometers or something, tiny for the land. And what, 3, 4, I think there are 4 million, maybe 4 million, and maybe 1 million expatriates. So it's a very small Singaporean population anyway, and obviously very wealthy because of finance. Yeah, I mean the finance industry there brings in a lot of money. But I mean, when I was there in the 60s, Singapore was on the ground. I mean, they were basically bankrupt. Yeah, I mean, we were the end of the British period. I mean, I was there until 67, and by 70, the British had completely pulled out. Yeah, and probably a third of the economy disappeared. Your financial income had gone with the British. There were so many. I mean, there were 50,000 troops, 150,000 dependents, plus another 50,000 running the police, the fire brigade, the airport, etc. So Her Majesty the Queen was paying for 250,000 people when the population was probably less than 2 million. So it's a very disjointed situation. But all of the time, that I was there, he would come on television like half a little boy, and Lee Kuan Yew jumped out of the television at me, and he was waving his fist. He'd say, you, go check your doorbell now. And it was like 9 o'clock at night. And he said, I was standing outside somebody's house this morning, and it was really hot today. I was standing in that heat for 10 minutes, pushing their doorbell, and nobody came. And then by accident, somebody came to the door. Their doorbell didn't work. Make sure yours works. But that was Lee Kuan Yew's approach. Yeah, it was really controlling and guiding people. Yeah, education was obviously paramount. I mean, when I was there, we had 2 shifts in school. There's morning school, afternoon school, because they didn't have the buildings. But that was the focus. Learn. And the tankers, the cruise ships that used to come in with a lot of money to Singapore, they all stopped in the 60s. Yeah, tourists were flying into Paya Lebar Airport pre-Changi. They would have a coffee and a bun and fly out, so they didn't leave any money. When the cruise ships used to come in, they would spend 5 days spending money like crazy. They would buy up Orchard Road, and all of that disappeared, and Singapore had no industry. So Jurong was just starting, the industrial state there, but it was all tiny businesses. And the main news at 9 o'clock at night was 25 minutes of Singapore news and 5 minutes international. And the 25 minutes was mostly the ministers going to open new businesses in Singapore. So you would have Mr. Ong Swee Sok, he just opened a plastic, and then somebody else, another minister, had opened another factory and it employed 10 people. Wow, they went ballistic. And that was 25 minutes of what the ministers were doing to open new businesses every single day. And that was really the focus. Yeah, you've got to go and produce money. You've got to go produce something. And that really has, obviously it's changed the way the Singaporeans think. I mean, they really are, I would say one-minded. I mean, everybody knows that they depend on each other. So it's a very different situation there to any other big city. Yeah, I mean, Singapore is obviously very different. But you have to admire, I really admire what they've achieved. The problem is, half the money in the system there is Singaporean, is money from, is corrupt money from Indonesia. And that's why they will never agree to an extradition treaty. Because if there was an extradition treaty with Indonesia, yeah, all of that money would come to Indonesia and Singapore would be dead. So they're really, they're in a very precarious position. Yeah, they really, I mean, they just haven't got the land to do industry or anything. They have no natural resources. I mean, they were stealing sand from Indonesia. They have to buy water from Malaysia. Yeah, I mean, it is a very, it's a difficult situation for them. But they are very entrepreneurial, and I think most Singaporeans, already have one foot in China. Most Singapore businesses, have a business in China as well. So that link will develop stronger. Yeah, and China will never let Singapore die. Yeah, so even if they have to subsidize them unofficially, yeah, I'm sure that will happen. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I have this vision though of Singapore becoming part of Indonesia at some stage, and then followed by Malaysia.
Oh, would you say Indonesia will be part of Singapore? Hello, Mike. Oh, you lost him. Lost connection.
It's growing so quickly, financially very strong. Yeah, I mean, it really is a mouse and an elephant. In the next 10 years, Indonesia will be number 5 in the world financially. They will take Germany, UK, France in the next 5 years. Yeah, and that's why English is so important, because Indonesia is going to have to become international country. Yeah, so English is really, really important. But I think when Singapore has problems and Indonesia is so big, I mean, seriously, it would make sense. And also Malaysia's a problem. I mean, they're small. They obviously want to be independent, but they are Malay origin. So, in 25, 30, 50, 100 years, I could see Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia being one country. Oh, scare, shock horror. But keep reading the book, Pipit, because I think internationalism is rife.
We're talking about Dia's book now.
Yeah.
But Dias, would you agree that this
Anyway,
is
I'll keep
utopia?
Sorry, Pipit, can you repeat
Do you agree if it's utopia though? Just like what the writer said?
I haven't reached that conclusion yet, but I think it's possible. I just think it's possible, but I don't know whether when, in how many years, and is it next year or is it next week will we reach that state of utopia. So, and then I have this however, Rutger back up his point of view about why we should give free money to everyone is because he said that by giving the free money, poverty declines because people then get the freedom, people then get the rights to buy whatever they need instead of what the expert thinks that they need. So that's the conclusion from chapter number 2. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much. And Donald, shall we move to your book or Pipit's book?
Yeah, about that.
Let's ask Rizka or Donald. Maybe do you have opinion about Dia's? Oh, Donald already. This Rizka, do you have opinion about Dia's
I
book?
forgot.
Yeah, maybe Yariska has an opinion before we move on to the next presenter.
No comment. I'm skeptical.
Oh, because she's been on and off. I
Yes.
don't recognize. Sorry, Kak.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm also not very available in.
Your voice is not out, so
Oh,
you cannot
okay.
hear your voice.
Yeah, Rizka, love yourself.
Oh iya dong. BTS.
Wow. Like Kim Namjoon.
Yo. Okay. So does my voice audible?
Yeah, just need to be a bit louder.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just saying that I'm skeptical about giving free money to everyone because in Indonesia we're not that mature enough to being given responsibility like that. At the same time, I don't know. There are some people who actually need it, like to pay their debts on something that they really need, like medical health and everything. So I guess I agree. It's kind of utopian, but it if that thoughts makes us growing to a better, distributing, giving jobs, and giving more education and everything, I think it's a good thing. That's all for me. Thank you.
I'll jump in with a comment as well about universal basic income. Yeah, I think everybody should get the same salary, whether they work or don't work, until they die, because the economies of the world only function because of basically earnings from the people. Because the people earn the money, they spend the money. And the problem we have at the moment is the imbalance. Yeah, I mean, 1% of the population in most countries, including Indonesia, owning 50 or more % of the wealth of the whole country, yeah, is obscene. Yeah, I mean, Amazon, he had 200 billion, I think, at the beginning of the pandemic, and he's now got 280 billion. He made 80 billion in about 15 months, doing nothing. Doing what? Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make any sense because there are a lot of people who work hard and get nowhere. And just by redistributing that wealth that the rich people have, there's enough for everybody. So it's not really utopia in a way. To me, it's logic. Yeah, because a lot of the stresses we have in a society at the moment are to do with financial imbalance and people, the lower end, getting aggressive. And there's no need for it because the guys at the top, I mean, what do they need individually that amount of money for? They can only wear one pair of trousers at a time. Yeah, you don't need billions of dollars, yeah, to be a rich person. I mean, you get $500,000, well, not $500,000, but you get $500 million and you're extremely rich. I think everything over $500 million should be taken away. Either in death duties, when you die, it goes to the state, not to your relatives. Yeah, I mean, there's ways of doing it. But the system we have, has only evolved over the last couple of 100 years. But, human beings have been around for thousands of years. So there are easier ways of doing things. We just need to find them. Good. So I have a vote when I become president. I think it's exciting times. Yeah, I think there's a lot to change in the next. I think from Indonesia's perspective, next 20 years, you won't recognize this place. When you guys look back, when you retire, you won't recognize what you've been through. It will be a really interesting journey. Hopefully interesting. Anyway, back to you, meeting leader.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jess, for sharing the book, Utopian for Realists. And now, yep. And now for the next presenter, Tipit, are you ready?
I'm ready. But if I suddenly stop, that means my GoFood is here, okay? This is my first meal of the day. Right, so I was given a new class by my school and I'm teaching international relations this year, but this is supposed to be AP, so like college class, but taught in high school. So if they go to university, they don't have to retake the new class. And because of that, I'm reading this, the Globalization of World Politics. This is not the actual book I'm reading because this is second edition. What I'm reading is the 8th edition and I have the PDF on my laptop, but to give you an overview how this book looks and how thick this is. I finished chapter 4, but it's actually considerable information knowing how thick this book is. So what I learned is actually about the Great Divergence. The Great Divergence is when Europe and the rest part of the world have a huge gap all of a sudden, right? So before 1500s, the most developed part of Asia, which is Shanghai that time, right? The most developed part of Asia, they called the Yangtze River Delta before they were called Shanghai. So Yangtze River Delta was only 10% lower in income than Paris and London. So it was not that big, the gap. However, the Great Divergence happened, and in less than 100 years, Europe became far ahead of Asia at that time. Although starting in the 70s, China started to catch up, right? And now become the threat of the West world, the Western world, Western society. But we were talking about the Great Divergence here. And I realized that there are 10 main reasons why Europe became exponentially flourished. And I will share my screen. Sorry, this is from my class. So part that let me talk about the Great Divergence.
Are you going to give us a mark at the end of this, Pipit?
No, everyone will get 0, so don't even try. Okay, so this is not in order. I put it like this on purpose because I ask my students to rate which one is the most impactful factors and which one is the least impactful factor. So I give them time to think for themselves, but I gave them what the factors that were possible that time. First was the technological advancement because there were no wars. So after the Peace of Westphalia, after the 70 years of war, when the Catholic versus Protestant and the Church of England had a war, blah, 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 right? So finally there was peace and people had time to think, basically test their ideas, start businesses. So this peaceful time after the Peace of Westphalia made Europe flourish. That's the first one. Second, wars also though. This is opposite also. Wars also lead to technological and tactical advances because you want to be better than your opponents, right? So it helped them to develop even standing armies and efficiency in bureaucracies because you need to be efficient when you're in time of war. You don't have time to think. Like when blitzkrieg is happening, for example, you know, okay, let's have a meeting, let's do what we should do. No, they should have the efficiency of bureaucracy. And coincidentally, because they have standing army, they also had the means to colonize other nations as well outside Europe. So this is their armies in reserve that was used to do the imperialism. But imperialism will come later. The next one is the European Enlightenment. When the Age of Reason happened, it challenges the authority of the Pope that time. And it allows scientists to work on their discoveries and inventions without fearing backlashes from the church. So this one. And the geographical factors enjoyed by the West. That time, a temperate climate that was inhospitable to parasites. So in terms of health, European people at that time were healthier than people in Asia and Africa and other parts of the world. And The Wealth of Nation, the book by Adam Smith, came out, and it stressed the role of capitalism in generating Western takeoff, which is really incredible. A small book can influence a lot of governments in Europe to promote capitalism. And this is, I think, probably one of the best idea that time, at least, that came out of Europe. And people start to start businesses, big and small, and the government give them laissez-faire of freedom to do so. And imperialism between 1878 until 1913, Western states claimed 8.6 million square miles of overseas territories, and that is 1/6 of the Earth's land surface. So we can imagine during imperialism, a lot of natural resources actually have been transported to Europe: diamonds, oil, coal, gold. So all of these things almost for free because they are subjugated by the European countries, and also radically unequal patterns of trade through coercions. For example, Britain and Argentina. So Argentina can only export up to 10% that the British markets allow, while the opposite, Britain, have 50% cap to export their goods to Argentina. So this was done through coercion. Also for the tariffs that was imposed to India, for example. So India, if they want to export their stuff to Britain, they were imposed with high tariff, but Britain export stuff to India, 0 tariff. So this one was done through coercion. Industrialization, that was started by the invention of steam engine by James Watt. I actually have personally visited the actual steam engine that James Watt invented that time, and with the creation of his workshop. Oh, my food is almost here. And then the Western advances promoted with the fusion of non-Western ideas. So there were a lot of migration happened from China to San Francisco, from Africa and Arabian world to Europe. So fusion of ideas taken from other nations also somehow give birth to a lot of technologies in Europe. Right? So it's good because they're open-minded. They receive ideas from other nations as well. Last but not least is the demographic advantage. People get married a lot later in Europe than other part of the world. So it gives them time to, for example, for the women to work in the factories that produce guns and ammunition. And even children also were the one cleaning the cases of the bullets in the factories, you know, when adult fingers obviously cannot do that. So the women had a lot of part in the industrialization, and also what is it called? Also lower population densities. They use it to, so they don't have to take care of a lot of people, too many people. Although it has been challenged by China, because China obviously have a lot of population and they use it as cheap labor, right? So this has been challenged. But wait, my food is here, so I will go first.
Go get it, otherwise the Gojek will wait for too long. Kasihan Gojek.
Okay, welcome Pak Wito. Before we continue with it, I would like to ask Rizka, do you have how many people will present? Rizka will present a book, right? Yeah, okay. And then Mike, will you present a book?
No, not today.
Okay, thank you. And Pak Wito, will you present a book?
Not today. I'm just dropping in to
Okay.
see what's happening. Okay, thank you.
I just calculate how many presenter to allocate the time. Thanks.
Hello? Okay,
Welcome back.
sorry. Just at the nick of time, my food is here. So that was from the first 3 chapters that I learned. Anyone want to comment? Okay, I have a question for you then. Which factors do you think is the most impactful that made Europe soar that time?
I don't think it was one thing. I mean, it obviously happened over hundreds of years. I think one big change really was the invention of maps with Columbus. Yeah, in the 1500s. So that was the Spanish and the Portuguese traveling around. I mean, Spain got a lot of gold from Mexico and, you know, South America. So they became very rich. And they then really prompted the move to the Moluccas for spice, which used to come overland on the Chinese trade routes into Venice. From Venice, it was then distributed around Europe and made a lot of money. And then the Dutch decided, and the Dutch were a tiny country. I mean, they still are tiny. Yeah, I mean, they decided, okay, let's go and find the route to, you know, the sea route to the spices, which they did. So you had the Portuguese, the Spaniards, and the Dutch all in Banda Neira, effectively, and Ternate and places. And then eventually, obviously, Spain kicked the Portuguese out. The Spanish were taken out by the Pope. The Pope decided with his pen that the Spanish-speaking part of South America would go to Spain. Brazil would go to Portugal, which was not Spanish-speaking. And Philippines would become Spanish. Indonesia would become Portuguese. And that happened, but not for very long, because then the Dutch came in and kicked the Portuguese out. So that was really the beginning of, Indonesian trade for 300 years, taking a tremendous amount of wealth into the Netherlands. So Holland became a very rich country for no good reason other than they were stealing stuff really from Indonesia. So that was one strain. But I think that for the UK, I mean, probably the biggest change worldwide was because of industrialization in the UK, where, they invented the steam engine. They were able to manufacture things, cloth. And that was really the driving force to colonize India as a market, not to take, but to sell things to. So the UK, you could produce fabric very cheaply. Yeah, and again, this tied in with Ireland and with Scotland with the wool trade, which got rid of the people from the land because the landowners could get more money, more profit from having sheep on the land than people. So the people were pushed to the edge and eventually ended up, the Scots traveled all the way around the world, and the Irish mostly went to Boston, New York, to the US. So that was one thing that was going on. But then the UK, because of its industrialization, and also Queen Elizabeth I in 1600s, was really a pirate. I mean, she franchised piracy, so she allowed noble British people to go and plunder the world, and particularly attack the Spanish. And they did it as a money-making venture. I mean, they were there just really to be pirates, to steal, and that was approved by the royalty, by Elizabeth. So that was 1600. But then in the 1700s, you got industrialization, and that really added another dynamic, that forced Britain to be the leading sea nation in the world. I mean, Britain ruled the waves because they had steam engines, or ships, that weren't sailing with sails. So they were very efficient, et cetera, and they then colonized. I mean, Britain was in every single continent. I mean, I think, every single country in the world has been attacked militarily by Britain, over the period. So Britain became very, very powerful for 200 years. Right?
Only Thailand hasn't been attacked by Britain.
Yeah, well, that was a place to go to on holiday.
Yeah, they went there for holiday. They never attacked
They
Thailand.
never attacked.
Yeah, they stopped at Burma, and
Yeah.
we're happy to be here.
So,
Go further.
so the British, anyway, they made a lot of money. They developed, their empire, the Commonwealth. Commonwealth looks as if it came back as a economic force now that Britain's out of the EU. Yeah, so this is a process that's been evolving over a long period, and it's been more than one strain of activity. Yeah, the only other countries really in Europe that colonized, I mean, you have the Spanish, obviously, with South America, but then the Germans had a couple of colonies in Africa. The French had some colonies, Algeria, Africa, West Africa, and the Brits. I mean, nobody else. I mean, the Italians, I can't remember. I mean, they were not really they hadn't got their act together. But the rest of Europe was too small and unstable. Yeah, they were fighting each other and just trying to stay alive. So yeah, the big industrial sort of powers, were Britain for 200 years, were huge. Yeah. Until the Second World War. I mean, Britain became very depleted of money after the First World War. And then they got involved in the Second World War, which basically made them bankrupt. So at the end of, I mean, I think Britain's only just, in the last couple of years, repaid America the loans that they took in the Second World War. Yeah, so 50, 60 years, 70 years to repay them.
About maps, it's actually the oldest maps that were discovered, actually in the Arabian world,
Yeah.
not from Europe. So the Arab
Yeah.
nations, somehow introduced the idea of cartography to Europe, and then Europe
And
took
just
it to the
sorry to
bank.
stop you there,
Yeah,
Pipit.
like try to, but then
What was Spain in the 1400s?
nothing.
No, it was Muslim.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it was Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had this influence of the Arabs, yeah, who are very far advanced in mathematics, in chemistry, yeah, and as you say, cartography, map making. And that was probably why the Portuguese became very good at map making.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it really all sort of comes in from that side of it, and then it revolves around, and
Yeah.
so I mean the world is
So
fascinating when you look at it from historical perspective, yeah, and you look at where are we? We look like we're in a ship.
this,
Yeah, when you look at how things have evolved and why they evolved, it's really interesting.
yeah, it's like a lot of factors somehow take part in it, right? Pull and
Yeah,
push factor. Now, this is when I visited the Science Museum in London, and they
yeah,
um
spinning Jenny.
the first steam engine, but
Yeah,
obviously not the actual one.
yeah,
Right? So the replica of the first steam engine that was invented by James Watt.
yeah,
However, the workshop still had his original tools.
yeah.
And that time was not allowed to take photos because more blitz from camera will wear off the color of it. Is I don't know, like so dark. Like it was his original tools.
I think they just wanted to sell the photos themselves.
Yeah, yeah, maybe, yeah, that's right. But so this is how the steam engine that changed Europe, and also they make ships become efficient, that they can
Yeah,
go
yeah.
farther with efficient energy.
Well, I mean, with sail, I mean, to travel from Batavia to China, you had to wait 6 months for the wind to change. So you had the monsoon, yeah. So you could only travel when the wind was going in the right direction. With steam engines, you didn't worry about wind, so you could go whenever you liked, and it was much faster. So this technology, I mean, that little engine that you're looking at there, that really was one of the main things that changed the world. I mean, another one really, when you look at it, is the light bulb. Edison. Yeah, I mean, if we were still running around with candles and paraffin lamps, we would be a little bit sad. Yeah, but I mean, his invention again has really changed, and it is. I mean, it's only 150 years ago that electricity went into houses. Yeah, I mean, I've been in. I mean, my house, the house I bought in England, my first house, was built in 1927, and the guy that bought it was a very old-fashioned guy, and he didn't trust electricity. So he'd come out of another area where the lighting, for lights in the room was gas. So he had this, the new invention was electricity, but he had gas installed in the house as well, because he didn't rely on electricity. And that was 1927. So I can't remember, 1870s, 80s was really the beginning of electricity in domestic residences. In the 1960s, there were still houses in London did not have electricity. And you can't, I mean, it's difficult to believe, but there were not many, but some, yeah. So yeah, I mean, this has been evolving for a long time, but and in a way slowly, but going in a particular direction.
I have a trivia question for everyone. So in 1812, it took sorry. A journey half around the world. It takes
Halfway, yeah.
halfway, yeah? A journey halfway around the world. It took 1 year to complete.
Yeah.
In 1600, right? Then it took 5 months to complete in 1800.
Okay.
1 month to complete in 1912. The
Yeah.
question is, how long does it take now? Yeah, should not
It's 5 minutes
for
by
a long
rocket.
time. See here,
Yeah,
here.
5 minutes by rocket.
Oh, right. With the commercial plane.
Yeah. You talk to Richard Branson. I mean, he'll get you from London to Indonesia in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but commercial plane, not like
Yeah.
military. Like, can you guys guess?
12 hours?
12 hours? No.
No, halfway in one
I will
day.
even give GoPay 1,000. Oh, sorry, 10,000 GoPay to anyone who can guess it. Pavido, lose your chance. Wrong already. Oh, don't Google it, please. No Google.
I mean, to fly from the UK to here, which is about halfway around the world,
Yes,
is about a day. Is 1 day, 24 hours and a bit.
close. It's not entirely half around the world from Jakarta to London.
Yeah.
Close.
Depends on the direction you're going. Is it
Ah,
against
And if you're
the
flying business
rotation,
class.
against the rotation of the Earth, or
oh, yeah.
with
Hmm.
the direction of the Earth?
Yeah. It's,
Well, the longest flight will take like 22 hours to 22 hours and 50 minutes. That's
Yeah.
from Singapore to New York.
okay, I will
Longest
give
flight.
10,000
When I-
GoPay for
Wow!
yes, correct.
Thank you.
Actually, almost
When I
exactly.
travel-
It's 22 hours, 0.5. So
Oh, 0.5.
2
Okay.
hours, 30 minutes from Sydney to
Yeah. In 1964, when I traveled from London to Singapore, 3 days.
using
3 days.
Transits,
ship.
No, plane.
Oh, plane. Wow.
direct.
Propeller
Was-
plane. Yeah, I mean, one plane. One plane.
Oh,
But it was propeller
Super
plane.
economic class.
I cannot imagine
that was
how
it. That was
many
fast.
crews are
I mean, that
responsible
was
for
before
that
jet.
Like,
alone
were you
flight, you know.
airborne the whole time?
No. I mean, we stopped from Singapore. I think first stop was Sri Lanka, Ceylon.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah,
We
that's
Yeah,
stayed
that makes
4
sense.
hours.
Yeah.
And then we flew to Kuwait and couldn't leave. We arrived at 11 in the morning, and it was too hot. We couldn't leave until I think 4 o'clock the next morning. So we were sitting in a metal hangar, a metal hut, drinking very weak orange juice. There was nothing. And then we went to Constantinople, tells you how long ago it was. And we spent all night in Istanbul airport. And that's where I got addicted to Turkish coffee because it was free. And then we carried on to London. But I'd say, that was the plane going as far as it could with the technology at the time. And
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of the time, it was, the temperature was too hot to take off.
Pipit, were you talking about the Qantas or flight, the one from Sydney?
Mhm.
Yeah, the direct
Qantas,
one.
yeah,
That's the longest
direct
the longest that
direct flight.
22.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's from me. Let's go to the next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Pipit. So,
Pepe, are you doing online classes? Can we come and listen?
No. You will interrupt my classes. No.
They
okay.
can mute us, permanent mute. No, but that book sounds fun. I might go and read it. So send me. You've got soft copy. You say send me
Okay,
volume 9
I
or
do.
whatever.
I have the PDF. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll have a look because it's. I mean, it really is interesting. When I think back, all of these different strains, going in different directions, but the world is revolving into where we are now. But it keeps moving. I mean, it keeps changing. Yeah, I mean, the next big thing is I think Europe will disappear. Yeah, EU I think will collapse in the next 10 years. I doubt that it'll still be there. And there are and America's gone downhill. Yeah, America will never be the way it used to be, ever. And China is taking over. I mean, already has taken over. And where that will lead us, I don't know, because they're obviously not of the same culture as the West was. West was a little bit more polite. Chinese are in a hurry, and the Communist Party couldn't care less about people. So it will push the world in a different direction. But they have the power, they have the control.
Okay, thank you, Pipit, for the book, Globalization, right? The title, yeah.
Yeah, Pipit,
And
if you have the book, then
can you show the
I have shared it. Oh,
okay. Thank you.
globalization, the globalization of world politics. Okay, and Pipit is reading the 8th edition. Okay, thank you, Pipit. And next, Rizka.
I think she left a chat in the chat box.
she's feeding her son.
So I think she would like to go last.
Oh, okay, so I will go first because we have 4 presenters here today. And Rizka will be last. All right, so my turn for now. The book that I'd like to share is Influence by Robert Cialdini. I'm not sure whether I pronounce the last name right. And it's about the study of compliance. Actually, it's an old book already published in 2006, but the one that I'm reading is the new edition published in 2021. So a recent edition, 2021. I already read the old edition years ago, because it was published in 2006, but this one is 2021. And why did you decide to read the book? Yeah, I decided to read the book because I think influence and the study of compliance is a very important topic. Because just about everything around us is about influence, like selling process and negotiation. All of this includes persuasion and also
Teaching.
yes, so being able to know the kind of tricks that people use on us is very important so that we will not fall into the traps. That's why I make it a priority to read this book, the new edition. And yeah, why did you decide to read the book? And next, what are your key takeaways from the book? So I think this book is one of the most important books that I read recently, simply because of its usefulness. For example, just one example, recently there is this situation in Afghanistan where the Taliban conquered the capital so quickly, Kabul. And because I read the book, I knew that the Taliban used one of the tactics there because they took over Kabul without any fight. And what did they do? They actually did a psychological warfare. They said this: there's no need for you to fight because we are brothers. You are our brothers. So we will build this country together. It looks innocent, but actually it's a psychological warfare, and it uses a technique in this book called unity. So the Taliban use shared identity, we are brothers, and that is used to persuade people. So if we read the book, we can figure out, oh, this person is trying to use unity tactic on me, something like that. So I think that's very important. And there are 7 categories of tactics in the book: reciprocation, and then liking, and social proof, authority, scarcity, consistency, and unity. There are 7. Reciprocation means someone can, so I will use we as the victim. I will use the position to avoid being persuaded by other people in a harmful way. So reciprocation means someone will try to do us an uninvited favor, and then after that, the person can ask for a return. So that is reciprocation. And the second one is liking. Liking is people will try to make us like them. For example, by pointing out similarities. Oh, I also like that. Actually, there is no problem with doing this if we do it sincerely. I mean, we are friends and we usually, but sometimes people use it just as tactics to persuade us. I also have that hobby. I come from the same city, something like that, liking. And the next one is social proof. It's actually very common, and I actually use it myself when I want to buy a book. Usually I check the Amazon sales rank. So that is one kind of social proof. Also the online reviews, that is also social proof. The problem is sometimes people use fake social proof. So for example, fake reviews, or people are invited to come to their newly open cafe or shop, but actually not real customers. Yeah, social proof. So 1, 2, 3, and then this next one is authority. Authority means someone use like title or certain uniform to show authority. For example, in an advertisement, someone actually just an actor use doctor coat and instantly get authority as medical advisor, despite not being a real doctor. Authority, and then scarcity. Scarcity means we try to limit the number. For example, limited time offer or limited number. This is scarcity. And then consistency. This one is interesting in my opinion, and something that is quite surprising to me. So someone can ask us for a simple favor. For example, do you agree with conversing this kind of energy, for example? Sounds harmless, but when we say yes, then a few weeks after that, this is an actual experiment, they ask for a different favor and more people comply. Why? Because despite the favor being different, it builds on the same self-image. So for example, if I say yes to conversing energy, I view myself, my self-image has changed without me realizing it. Oh, I'm a person who care about environment. So when someone asks for a bigger favor related to environment later, I will feel without being aware of it, I will say yes. So there are a lot of subtle tactics here. And then consistency, and then unity. I already gave example with the Taliban. So yeah, there are a lot of tactics that I cannot go in detail because of limited time, but I think it's very useful. We can look at events and things that people say to us, and we can figure out, oh, this is doing this, that person is doing that, because there are quite a lot of people who try to influence us in a bad way. Yeah, I think I cannot give you more specific examples, but yeah, so by using this, we can learn to figure out the tactics that is used to us, and we prevent ourselves from being influenced. So that is the key takeaways. And next, is there a question that you would like to discuss? Actually, I just want to ask from your experience. Maybe you have examples about certain tactics that I just shared. Maybe that ring a bell. Oh, because that can, okay, Dias, yeah. So that you can learn from each other's experience. Okay, please, Dias.
So Donald, you mentioned about something that similarity. So whenever we talk to someone or we have a conversation with someone, when we realize that we have a common thing between us, then it will makes us appear like a lot more favorable, and then it will create some kind of comfortness. And then I usually do it to when when I used to work as a cabin crew, because sometimes I try to break the barrier between between someone who works and then between me and the passengers, basically. So when I notice like a group of people who traveling together, and then I always try to create this kind of a friendly environment, hopefully by chit-chatting. Just for me, it's kind of, I don't know whether it's correct or not. I don't know if it's, sometimes it feels like it's a stupid question, because the flight is from, let's say, from Surabaya to Kuala Lumpur. We know exactly that the flight is from Surabaya to Kuala Lumpur, but then I get this question to them, like for example, like, wah ibu ke Kuala Lumpur ya, wah sama dong. I don't, they know already, they aware already that the flight is going to Kuala Lumpur, but then I don't know, somehow it for me it's always like let's say from 10 10 experiences like that, it's always trigger laughs, you know. So then it will get me a lot easier when, you know, when let's say when on board, when I need them to put the seat belts on, when you know, to do all the basic things that they should do as a passenger. It will be a lot more, it will be a lot more easier, because from the beginning they see me as someone that they can talk to. So, you know, instead of just telling them to obey on this regulation, these rules, then why don't I, as someone who works on that flight, try to, you know, try to make a good what do you call, not a relationship, just try to make a good flight for them,
Impression.
good experience for them, yeah, something like that. So, and then it's always work for someone who brings children to say hi to the children first rather than to the parents first. So whenever noticing parents with the children, then it's a lot better, and it's always works if saying hi to the children's first. But then this case is only for me, it's only works for Asian background. I don't know whether because when I was in Middle East, they don't really like when people saying hi to their kids, because they feel like we always, you know, we tend to say hi to cute kids, like, oh, cute babies, and hi, and then we'll make a, in Koreans, like egyo, something like that. So, but then it doesn't really work with families from the Middle East backgrounds. That's what I'm saying from my experience, but I don't know what the theories behind it. But then when I asked one of my friends who came from that cultural background, and then they said, we don't really like when a stranger approach to our kids, because um somehow it it may appear like we want to, you know, we want to kidnap the kids or whatsoever. So then it's best to just keep them as a normal kids. So we don't need to put like extra effort to say hi, something like that. So that's um that's based on my experience. Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, dear.
I think a lot of that is to do with the kids being close to the woman and the woman being sacred. Yeah, the woman is really out of communication with the rest of the world in Arabia. And I think it probably stems from that. So you talk to the kids, you're talking to the wife, and that is taboo.
Okay, thank you.
But well, I mean, I found when I was in Abu Dhabi, the Arabs are very friendly. I mean, I used to take four-wheeler and drive on my own over the dunes in the sand. I couldn't get lost because there was a big flare, you know, with black smoke daytime and a flare at night. But if you just drove around the desert, literally in the desert, middle of nowhere, and you'd come across a Bedouin camp, 3-4 tents, you know, you were always invited to come and have tea and dates. You know, they were very hospitable.
They
And
are
then,
very friendly, but
yeah,
this is,
but they're,
I mean,
they're separated, yeah, as you say, you know. But when the husband's there, which you know would happen in a desert environment, you know, the wives are never going to be on their own. But the wives will be in the background, yeah. I mean, they will be making the tea and serving it, not drinking the tea, but they will be there. You know, I mean, they'll be in the back. But yeah, the communication is with the guys. But yeah, you know, cultures are different. I think in Europe, you know, again, you know, your approach would work. You know, you can talk to the kids to get to the parents.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to give example about the influence principles like social proof, authority, scarcity, and so on?
Somehow it reminds me from with the board, never split the difference, because a lot of them have strategies, right? Like how to influence people to agree with you. And several strategies you mentioned are actually the same book. So we create common ground no matter how different we are. And I think the one in Indonesia, I think the one used the most is favor, reciprocal favor. Yeah, even people go as far as, oh, I know that this person is successful. Maybe in a few years, I'm just gonna start pouring something to this person, and then when time comes, oh yeah, they will. What is it called? Help me.
Reciprocate.
Yes.
I mean, that's really
reciprocate.
the principle of networking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make
but-
connections. You don't
this one,
necessarily cultivate. I mean, you cultivate, but you don't harvest the relationship.
yeah, but I will give a famous example. The famous example was Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. So Dick Cheney was Donald Rumsfeld's assistant, starting up. So Dick Cheney was just a new person at the White House, right? And then for some reason, Donald Rumsfeld really liked him. So whatever it is, Donald Rumsfeld was assigned, I want you to be my assistant. So that's why Dick Cheney followed him around from department to department. That's why when Dick Cheney became the vice president of George W. Bush, then the first person he remembered was Donald Rumsfeld, right? And that's why he became the Ministry of Defense, right? Because of that. So that's probably the most famous examples I can think of when it comes to reciprocal favor.
Thank you, Pipit. So I think it's enough for my part. The book title is influenced by Robert Cialdini. Thank you, everyone, for the opinion. Yes, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, and so next is Rizka. Miss Rizka.
Okay, I think I have to shout a little bit, right? So, my book is Peter Drucker in Indonesian translation. It's my dad's book, 1985, and it's being.
Sorry, Rizka. Could you make it louder?
Okay. So it's my dad's book, and it's in Bahasa Indonesia. It's printed. And why I read this book, I kind of need an insight, a new approach in Bahasa Indonesia, so I can discuss it with my team. Because throughout past times, I read in English, and then I couldn't share with my team, and I had to translate it. So I choose an Indonesian version of it. Right now I'm in chapter 5. Basically, the book shares stories in that time about innovations in companies. And this one chapter, the source of innovations is related to process of a certain process. For example, uh, the book tells about a product of an operations where the doctors usually do this kind of operation, this kind of steps, and then this one the marketing notice there's this specific process that can be done by having a different kind of product to be put into the process itself, and then he became make it as a business and like chances of making a business out of it. And so I'm in the process of reading all of this. What I can make of this book is questions. It's about questions on whether one inspirations can be put into an innovations, or is that step or ideas is unable to be put in innovations. And the second, it's because it's in practical steps. I do hope I can put it in use in the project that I've been doing in my office. Wait. Let me check the questions. So the key takeaway is first I have to really see the surrounding of things that I want to put innovation in. For example, when there are about what is it? I think it's five or six source of innovations, and what I have to do is very paying attention to the surrounding of uh, the, the 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 activities or the projects that I want to have something different to be put into. For example, I have to notice the steps, I have to see the demographics, I have to see the structure of the industry itself, and is there any out of ordinary or what we mentioned now, the outliers of the process itself? And wait, another question. Is there a question that you'd like to discuss between us? Okay, one question. Is there anything you do differently yesterday? And you can consider it as your personal innovation. I would like to know. Thank you.
Okay, so the question from this guy, is there anything that you did differently yesterday that you can consider as your personal innovation?
Yes, I would like to know.
It's a hard question for me to answer.
The small things you do. I mean, like, did you pick the different routes and makes you came across something different, or
I took a different route to go to work. But because there was perbaikan jalan, not because of my personality.
oh, do you see something different in your new routes? What do
Yes,
you-
I saw a lot of things different. I saw that in the middle of nowhere in this sawah-sawah, I found very fancy perumahan. So it gave me an idea because I've been looking for a place to move,
Mhm.
and really I found what I was looking for all this time because I changed my route.
Interesting. Thank you, Mbak Pipit. Anyone? Mbak Mike or Donald or Pak Wido maybe, or Mbak
Well,
Desi?
just yesterday I decided to say yes to go out because um, it has been like months, even years and years that I rejected whenever a friend of mine asking, "Come on, let's go out. Let's go here, let's go there." But then yesterday they were like kidnapping me literally because you have to go out, you got the vaccine already, just go out, something like that. So then they got I got kidnapped, and then we went to IKEA. IKEA in the one in Alam Sutra. So yeah,
Okay.
that was, I think, yeah, that was the highlight of my week. First time like in almost forever that I decided not to go out because um uh you know some people still are very lazy to use mask, and then I hate it. I hate it to the most. And I see someone do not properly wear mask. So then I decided, rather than seeing things that I don't like, it's better to stay at home. That was my point of view until yesterday, because I don't know, maybe because it's IKEA, and then they have this time limit for certain people. Like for example, they have this kind of batch one is from 11 to 2, and then then batch 2 it's from 1 to 4, and then the last batch is until it closes at 7. So then we have to really adhere with the rules and regulations. So yeah, I think I think that was a good idea. And then I was grateful that they kidnapped me and forced me to go out.
That's
Yeah.
innovation. Doing the extraordinary.
Yeah, something. Yeah, you can say that.
Yes, I used to work for IKEA. I used to
Really?
work for IKEA, yeah. I delivered their magazine when I was, what, 21, 22. So this thick catalog magazine,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
heavy.
them door to door when I was in university. 20
Now
Wow.
it's like barcode in every corner of this the one in Alam Sutra. It's like we scan the barcode and then we have to scroll it on our own because they don't provided the printed version anymore. So your back
they
is
give you
the
number, right? They give you
history.
number
Yeah, like a
to
signature.
enter it.
Mhm. Yep. Ah, excellent. That's extraordinary. Mike or Jonathan or Pak Wido maybe sharing.
Pak Vito hasn't shared something.
Mhm.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
While Diaz was being kidnapped to go to Alam Sutra, I was being kidnapped to go to Kelapa Gading, and
Okay.
it was a strange sensation being in Grab. And seriously, I haven't felt car sick for 50 years. And I had this little bit of nausea coming up just by sitting in a car.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was an interesting experience. But that was my 19th trip out of my house since February of 2020. Yeah,
Okay.
it was, I needed to go for a haircut anyway. But I was meeting a friend who just come from Lampung with coffee and things. So we met there. But anyway, it was an interesting experience. Yeah, being out, as you say, because I think it's going to be interesting when people are able to go out. We're going to have to run training courses. How to deal with people again. How do you have face to face
True,
communication?
it's very true. Like how many hours from your place to Kapagading?
But 1,
1 hour.
yeah.
The
Well, I
change
mean
of
that was
perspective.
normal. I mean I know. I
Sorry.
forgot what his name is, our champion speaker, Yogesh. I mean, he lives there, and when he meets me in World Trade Center, yeah, I mean, or comes to AAA or British Toastmaster meeting previously. I mean, sometimes it would be 2 hours. If it was raining, by Grab or even by bike, yeah, it took forever. So yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, to me, the traffic was normal. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it took about 55 minutes, so that was fun. But the driver was complaining, that the traffic was so bad, and I'm thinking, I can remember it being a lot worse than this.
So okay, the change of perception that makes you feel different, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, well, it's the experience, isn't it?
The experience, isn't it? Yeah. So that is interesting because I'm the other side of the coin because
You're traveling every day.
yes, I travel every day. I go to Bandung every week, and I might not go to a mall every day or something, but having you and
This
the
guy is the reason why we're still doing PPKM.
oh no lah! Oh please. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting for us to share different experience on a different kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the coin. So yeah. Good. Innovation.
I mean, I'm already thinking, with something like being a British Toastmasters, are we ever going to meet face to face again? Because virtual is not good, but it's very convenient.
Yeah.
And I think it might be difficult to get people to stop being virtual and expecting them to come to a place where they've got to buy food and, spend an hour each way traveling, et cetera, et cetera. So,
But
it's going to be a transition that's going to be
yeah,
difficult to manage.
but it's also like apa namanya? It's also like a very special experience as well when we actually able to make people meeting offline, because some of people are being I don't like it, but some of people are, I want to go, I want to meet people. So it's going to be a very interesting one.
I mean, yesterday there were 5 of us at the table,
Mhm.
and we were spaced out so far. I found it really difficult because you couldn't hear what the person at the other end was saying, and it's only 5 people. So it's not really personal, even though you are face to face. Yeah, I mean, you get closer online.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing. I think that's. Oh, is there any question for me, or I think it's 2 p.m. I don't know, Donald. You haven't shared your book.
Okay, so
You did. Sorry, you did. Sorry, my bad. Okay, I'm forgetful now. So, is there any question for me? Maybe. Or if no, I'm.
No, just when are you going to finish the book, Riska?
I don't know.
Only
I'm
joking. Only joking.
I know, but
No,
it's a
no
good
pressure. No
question.
pressure.
It's a good question, Mike, because I have a very hard time reading these days. It's very hard to finish or reading. I don't know. I'm restarting to love books again. So yeah, if there's no question, back to you, Donald.
okay, thank you, Rizka, for sharing. So all of the presenters have shared the book. Before we close the meeting, maybe Pak Wido want to share something?
Uh, I cannot really share anything quite yet. I was just listening in. I didn't really catch Rizka's explanation because the sound wasn't clear. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's all for our meeting today. Now, yeah, 2 p.m. We have 4 books. So again, our mission here is cultivating the passion for lifelong learning. Pipit, are we going to have photo or not?
Yes, I actually secretively took photo already, but let's go.
Secretly taking pictures. Okay.
Yes, grab your closest book. Mike, are you able to turn on camera?
Yeah, but you don't want.
Okay. One. Let's go, Mike. Mike, this book is really heavy. You this is my workout.
Your
See,
workout.
right here. Yeah.
Feels
Let's
like a
go.
dumbbell, yeah?
Does volume 8 get heavier?
Yeah, but I don't have the printed. Do you have book with you? No?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Let's go then. Take photo. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Thank you, baby. So about meeting offline, will book brewers meet offline? I don't think so.
Let's come to Surabaya again.
I will come to Surabaya.
Okay, thank you everyone. Pipit, you want to
Thank
share
you,
something?
Donald. Thank you.
Yeah, so next month it will be on 9th of October and I will be the moderator. So the next month after me will be Diaz the moderator and we'll just rotate after that. Okay?
Okay, I'll
Okay,
try and
cool.
read something by then.
Yeah, it's okay not to finish any book. Me also, I reached chapter 3 and it didn't stop me from sharing what I have learned so far. Right. So see you next month. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.